Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 7th, 2003 meeting of the Romeo Planning Commission. Before we begin the regular part of our meeting, we're going to open a public hearing for a vacant parcel 30-02-31-356-006 Powell Road. They're applying for a special land use, section 46-939. Special land uses federal, allowed in the industrial zoning district. The ordinance allows marijuana grower, marijuana safety compliance facility, marijuana retailer, medical marijuana provision center, or secure transporter, which are uses only to be permitted within the industrial zoning district, subject to special land approval. Is anybody here who would like to make a comment on this application? Go ahead.
Do you want to hear from the applicant right now, or is this only?
Anybody, this is,
No, we're the applicant.
yeah, okay, go ahead. If you want to talk, that's fine. Just let us know who you are.
Okay. My name is Bob Lind. I'm with Urban Land Consultants, and my client Chester Zagowski has asked me to prepare a plan some months ago, and that is the site plan that we're offering you tonight.
Okay. So we have copies of that too in our packets. Anybody have any comments on this application? Nobody does.
The special land use specifically, no.
I'm sorry.
The special land use specifically, no.
Okay. So, I guess we'll move on to our regular meeting then. If nobody has anything else to say, thank you. Okay, now we move on to the regular part of our meeting. And we begin with the agenda and the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Cindy, will you do the roll call, please?
You did you close the public hearing, Stegner?
Not formally, okay. So the public hearing has been closed, so. All right, we did the pledge, now we'll do roll call.
Janice Fowler is excused, Bill Grandstaff is excused, and Bill Parker is excused. Andrew Hale.
Here.
Lisa Hall.
Here.
Brian Minton.
Here.
Justin Parker. Jim Stegner.
Here.
Carl Webb.
Here.
Okay, we move on to approval of tonight's agenda. Any additions, comments? All right, I'd like to add a couple of things at the end of our new business. Just two comments about two issues that I think we should deal with in the new year. And I'll be brief when we get to those, so.
Stegner, could you guys pull your
Sure.
microphones down?
Did he just say so? Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of the agenda motion before the commission is to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor?
Mr. Stegner,
Yes. Am I doing this wrong?
because of the extent of the time it may take us with this flagpole language and this off-street parking, can we move the new business items up so that they don't have to sit through our old discussion, do our old
Sure.
business?
This is our unfinished business. Okay, motion, you want to make a motion to do that?
Second.
Okay. Motion before us is to move the flagpole language update and our off-street parking update to the bottom of tonight's business. All in favor? Aye, okay, unanimous indeed. All right, now, approval of the agenda, we already did that. Approval of the meeting minutes from October 5th, 2023. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why do we have that twice?
Well, because on the minutes from that meeting, there was a question
There was.
regarding, I believe Justin Parker asked, he was wondering, it's Chairman Stegner opened the public hearing at 7 PM, and the public hearing, he stated that the public hearing will be postponed until November planning at the request of the applicant.
Okay,
That's it. That was the only change.
okay. So then we're going to approve the October minutes, right?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the October minutes.
All right, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Also, approval of the meeting minutes from November 2nd, 2023. I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, unanimous. Now, public forum. Anybody who has anything to discuss with Planning Commission is welcome to speak at this time. Okay, nobody has anything to say? All right, so we're going to right down to new business. Special land use. Karen Lovar will review industrial. Thank you, Karen.
The village received a special land use application for a marijuana retailer in the area of around Powell Road and 32 Mile. The applicant is requesting a special land use approval for a licensed marijuana facility. This would be a new building located at the industrial park at Powell and 32 Mile Road. The proposed development will take place on a site that is 1.25 acres with a lot width of 202.37 feet. The building will be 4,107 square feet and oriented with an entrance facing Powell Road. The building will cover 7.2% of the site. The building's height will be 16.4 inches from grade, and the facade will consist of brick veneer, stone veneer, metal panels, and glass. The proposal provides 32 parking spaces, with parking provided along the north and west perimeters of the site and along the front of the building. Parking spaces are 9 feet wide by 18 feet deep, with a maneuvering lane width of 26 feet. Parking in the front along the perimeter is 30 feet from the property line. Trash enclosure will be located at the northeast side of the parking area. Trash enclosure will consist of three 6-foot-high concrete walls and a steel gate screened with wood boards. Proposed landscaping includes plantings along the front yard perimeter, side yard perimeter, and around the trash enclosure, and along the perimeter of the building. Front yard perimeter and side perimeter plantings will consist of 6 Redmond lintons, 1 North maple, 13 dwarf fountain grass, 1 silver maiden grass. There will be 3 Black Hill spruce trees around the trash enclosure. Building perimeter landscaping will include golden Fakiri privets, Hicks yew, feathered reed grass, hydrangeas, maples, boxwoods, centric glow 9 barks, dwarf fountain grasses, and H switch grasses. The proposal meets all of the requirements of the industrial district. In the site development plan, there were some concerns about the fire lane, lighting, and loading area. Those have all been addressed in your revised plans. Therefore, it meets all the requirements of the industrial district. It meets all the requirements for site development. So I had no concerns there. Section 46-393 allows licensed marijuana facilities, subject to special land use approval, provided that they comply with the following minimum standards. The location of any allowable marijuana establishment is restricted to the area of the village zoned industrial, and then only in the industrial area located north of 32 Mile and east of the M53 bypass. No marijuana establishments shall be allowed in any other area in the village of Romeo. The standard is met. All marijuana establishments must be buffered by a distance of at least 750 feet as measured from the property line to the from the property to the property line. The standard will be determined by the village clerk. All marijuana establishments must be completely enclosed within a building. The standard is met. Such uses shall be located a minimum of 500 feet from public or private K-12 school, as well as measured door to door from the nearest entrance of the school to the nearest entrance of the marijuana establishment. The standard is met. Compliance with all other provisions of the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to parking, landscaping, signage, setbacks, and nuisance regulations. The standard is met. Compliance with all provisions of the Village of Romeo licensing and regulating of marijuana business ordinance, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act, and the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. This will be required to be granted a license. In addition, section 46-653 of the Romeo zoning ordinance specifies several review standards that must be met to meet approval. They include the proposed special land use shall be of such size, location, and character that will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding neighborhood and or vicinity and applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is to be located. The proposed use shall be of a nature that will make vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than is normal for the district involved, taking into consideration vehicular turning movements in relation to routes to traffic flow, proximity, and relationship to intersections, adequacy of site distances, location and access of off-street parking, and provisions for pedestrian traffic, with particular attention to minimizing child vehicle interfacing. The proposed use shall be designed as to the location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation of any such proposed use to eliminate any possible nuisance emanating therefrom, which might be noxious to the occupants of any other nearby permitted use.
Ms. LeBar, sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, are you gonna go over all these?
I'm gonna read all
Okay, I'm
these.
sorry.
No, that's quite
I'm just
all right.
trying to be thorough.
I'm just trying to save you some breath here.
Okay.
I'm gonna read these 3 times tonight.
Okay,
So-
gotcha. Well, then
So,
So,
enough.
okay. Well, let me just say for the consultant recommendation in deciding whether to approve or deny the request, the planning commission must evaluate each of the above referenced applicable standards. Any motion should expressly detail the reasons for such action. If the planning commission decides to approve the special land use request, all other applicable provisions of the Village of Romeo Code of Ordinances, including but not limited to fire safety, building, and engineering, must be met. Furthermore, any motion to approve should be conditioned upon the applicant being granted a license by both the Village of Romeo and the state of Michigan.
So you're recommending approval?
I recommend approval, yes.
Okay. Any comments from the commission?
I have a question,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. You had mentioned that the clerk is the one who approves whether or not they meet the setbacks. Has that been done?
Yes, basically, I talked to the clerk and she said it would not be coming to the planning commission if it didn't already meet them.
Okay.
So basically, her
she's-
review and our review, it happens simultaneously.
Right.
And so because it's meeting these check marks, then,
Right.
yeah.
I just know it was close, and I'm not the one who's gonna check it, so I'm just making sure that somebody said that it's over 750 or whatever the setback is.
Yeah, she checked.
Because if it's building to building, it's not an issue, but if it's parcel line to parcel line, the one on 32, it makes it really, really close. So, as long as she approved it, Cindy, do we have anything that confirms that she approved it?
I mean, I don't have it with me right now, but,
That's the only
like-
condition I would have, is
like
that I want it approved that it
Karen
is.
said it wouldn't come this
Okay.
far if it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah, when I asked the clerk that, she said basically if it didn't meet those things, then
Yeah.
planning commission would have to see that.
It wouldn't even be here.
Okay.
Let me ask a question. This is just special land use approval. This is not the site plan approval, correct?
Correct.
Special
This is
land
special
use
land
and
use,
Site plan, or something, it's basically simultaneous.
both.
Yeah, but when someone submits a special land use, they're also submitting their site
Okay.
plan.
Right, it's A then B, but
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
they need a special land use to get the site plan approval. But we run them concurrently.
You have the site plan in your packet, correct?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't write it down.
That's fine.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. That was my only question. I guess I have one more. The common drive, as it shows on that, is it, like, you have the common drive, so it's, the access is from outside of the parcel, the access to the road?
Trying to do that.
Like the ingress egress point comes from outside of the parcel. Is that something that's been,
When we met with the road commission said I had to line my driveway up
Yeah.
East Pond.
So-
It's better traffic, so we turning left and right in and out, so.
yeah, and I totally understand, is that deeded access to that parcel?
Well,
Will it be deeded? Okay,
We'll have to,
just so we don't landlock a building.
right, yeah. The rest of this, future development,
Mhm.
site plan.
Okay. Those are my only two.
Ms. Hall, did you have any other question?
No, not at this time.
Okay, so it should be clear, we're approving site plan as well as special land use simultaneously. That's correct, Ms. LeVar?
Yes.
Okay. So before we approve a special land use, we have to look at review standards required by the state. There are 8 of them. I will read them one at a time, and we will vote individually on all 8.
Sounds splendid.
All 8 must pass in order to approve. So, review standard number 1, the proposed special land use shall be of such location, size, and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding neighborhood and/or vicinity and applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is to be placed. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
All in favor of that?
Yeah. Aye.
Unanimous, Cindy.
Okay.
Number 2, the proposed land shall be of a nature that will make vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than is normal for the district involved, taking into consideration vehicular turning movements in relations to routes of traffic flow, proximity, and relationship to intersections, adequacy of site distances, location and access of off-street parking, and provisions for pedestrian traffic with particular attention to minimizing child-vehicle interfacing. All agree with that? Support?
Agree.
Unanimous. Number 3, the proposed use shall be designed as to location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation of any such proposed use to eliminate any possible nuisance emanating therefrom, which might be noxious to the occupants of any other nearby permitted uses, whether by reason of dust, noise, fumes, vibration, smoke, or lights. Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, support, unanimous. Number 4, the proposed use shall be such that the proposed location and height of buildings or structures and location, nature, and height of walls, fences, and landscaping will not interfere with or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings or unreasonably affect their value. Everyone agree with that? This is
Support, yeah.
support from Mr. Webb, unanimous? Okay, number 5, the proposed use shall relate harmoniously with the physical and economic aspects of adjacent land uses as regards prevailing shopping habits, convenience of access by prospective patrons, continuity of development, and need for particular services and facilities in specific areas of the village. Excuse me, everyone agree?
Yes.
Unanimous, Cindy?
Okay.
The proposed use is necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location, the mystery number 6. All agree? Okay, number 7, the proposed use is so designed, located, planned, and to be operated that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Everyone agree?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. The proposed use shall not be detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood within which it is to be located, nor shall such use operate as a detriment to future land uses permitted within the zoning district, and shall be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. All agree?
Yes.
Support, unanimous. Okay, so special land use is hereby granted by the planning commission. Okay, that's it.
There's, are you making that motion? Steve?
Yes. Who seconds? Motion before us to grant the special land use.
And
I made the
concurrent
motion.
planning and site plan approval, is it not?
Mr. Hale, second.
Is it both? It's both.
For special land use
And site plan
Site plan
approval.
approval.
Yes, sorry. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll support it.
Mr. Hale, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, Cindy.
Thank you.
All right, number 3 is site plan review for 230 East St. Clair, parcel 28-04-02-127-014.
Thank you.
The applicant has submitted plans to build a steeple on an existing building. The steeple will be where the main building entrance is. It would create a height of 30 feet, 6 inches from grade. The design would also include a clock, vinyl posts with openings, and a pyramid hip roof. No other structural alterations are proposed. The submittal meets the district regulations. Therefore, I recommend approval of the site plan.
Any comments, questions? Any questions?
Same dark blue as the rest of it?
Sorry,
It's-
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's not really much blue, there's a little bit of blue, but it almost would be PVC form.
Okay.
And then
Yep.
like the cross is all PVC.
Yep.
That way, but it will be like, just power washing, you don't have to maintain it, you know what I mean?
Perfect. It's gonna be up there.
Well, it's got 2 crosses on the side and the bottom in the middle, and it'll just try to drive your attention, plus it's nice to have it downtown.
Absolutely. That'll look good.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, the motion to, before us is to approve the site plan for parcel 28-04-02-127-014. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, Cindy. So site plan's been approved, so.
Appreciate you guys so much.
Okay,
You
get-
guys.
you get to go up again.
Good catch.
Number 5, site plan review 141 South Main 28-04-02-131-001. Ms. LeBar will review again.
The applicant has submitted plans to replace the existing drive-through canopy and teller machines. The drive-through area would be reduced to 2 lanes with an arch canopy to replace the existing canopy over the existing 4 lanes. No other changes are provided on site, and parking, lighting, circulation, and other existing site elements will remain as is. The proposed new canopy area will measure 23 feet in width, 18.42 feet in length, and 13 feet 3 1/4 inches in height. The arch canopy will have a metal roof and masonry columns and match the existing building. A new door will also be installed on the south side of the building. The proposed drive-through lanes, or the proposed alteration meets the district regulations. And also the general parking requirement. Wherever drive-through or vehicle stacking lanes are provided, such lanes shall be so located as to not impede pedestrian or vehicular circulation on the site or on abutting sites, nor shall any drive-through lane cross a vehicle maneuvering lane or aisle unless otherwise provided. A minimum of 4 stacking lanes shall be provided for each service window. A minimum waiting space shall be 23 feet long by 10 feet wide. And the inner drive-through lane will measure 10 feet in width with a waiting area of 4 to 5 feet in length. The outer drive-through lane will exceed the 10-foot width and have a waiting area of 45 feet in length. Therefore, the standard is met, and I recommend approval of the site plan.
Any comments?
I have one specific one. I guess it's for Miss Cindy or Miss Karen, whichever one chooses to know the answer to it. This canopy is gonna cross a parcel line.
It's going to.
It's gonna cross a parcel line. It's gonna leave one part, so it already does, I get that, but they're gonna take that one down and then cross the parcel line again. Are people allowed to build across parcel lines in this village?
I don't see any, I mean, they own both, the other parcel is part of the parking.
Yeah, just for continuity of, I don't know, for what I do professionally.
Right.
Having an improvement across a line is not allowed. I mean, in most places I've ever worked. So I mean, to me, the fact that they're crossing a parcel line, I think they should be forced to combine stuff with it. I don't know why they weren't in the past. I mean, they even label it that way on the drawing, parcel 1 and parcel 2, and then the GIS on the review shows the same thing, where that canopy goes right through a parcel line. So it's just for continuity. I would like if they combine it, but I don't wanna force that if it's, nobody else sees that as an issue. If the village doesn't, I mean, I don't know how
believe
rampant it
it's a
is.
requirement. I don't think it's specifically called out anywhere, but I will
Yeah,
double check.
it seems like a good housekeeping measure just for the village itself. If you're gonna build an improvement across something, you should probably make it so you can't sell one of them without selling the other. It's effectively a way of tie barring an improvement together. But, that's my only thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
I was just
Is that what you're gonna ask? All right.
Across here.
Yeah, across, yeah, it's right there. They delineate it right here, that's that one.
Yeah.
The parking, like the parking lot to the south, there's no improvement that crosses that line, so that's fine. All they're parking to the east. There's a parcel line right to the middle of the canopy. So I mean, if I'm making a motion, mine would be contingent on them combining the parcels together.
You're gonna make it contingent or table it until that's done?
I don't know if it's necessary to table it.
Mhm.
It'd be nicer if they were here, because they could tell me if they're interested in even doing that.
Yeah,
But it's, I understand, it's not business hours to them. I get it. Ms. Hall, do you see what I'm saying?
But it's not, okay, but they're proposing that this is gonna be the, so this is 42 feet from here to here.
Okay. So they
The
stop it at the
new proposed
parcel line?
canopy is only 23 feet.
Okay,
It's
so
only
that's not the
going
width,
from
that's the
here to
length.
here. Yeah, it's, see what I'm saying?
So it's gonna cross by about a foot.
No.
Well, the new one, it still shows the new one crossing their line theoretically, right? I'm just looking at the lines they have drawn.
It's right here.
This is the existing.
Here's the existing.
That's the
drawing.
existing,
Here's
right?
the old,
This
so
is the
the
existing,
new
this is
parcel
the
comes
existing
down.
right here, this one. The new one is this line,
Right, the dotted lines
are
here.
these lines.
The internal component, right?
Yeah, the internal one.
So you're saying they're gonna stop short of it?
They're gonna stop short. Yeah, they're coming here.
Okay.
So they're taking this off.
So they might be right on it, or slightly over it, not
No,
as egregious
see,
as they were
this is-
before.
This is, what I'm getting is, maybe I'm, you know this better than I do.
The new
What was the
canopy is
language?
gonna be
Is
23.
it all in the gray area?
Hold
So
on.
they-
So this is parcel two. So parcel two stops here?
Okay, so they're gonna shrink it drastically.
Right,
More
isn't
was
this parcel
before.
two right here? Isn't this where, isn't
The
this the
dotted
line for two?
lines.
No,
Where's the line for two?
right through the middle of the canopy. It's
In
right
the
here.
middle of the canopy?
So the canopy, this is
So
the,
it is, okay, it is going past, okay.
It's going right through the middle of it.
So
So the
there is,
improvement crosses a parcel line.
yeah, it is.
there's nothing in the ordinance that says that they cannot, I
Right.
understand what you're, I know,
Right.
some communities explicitly,
Absolutely.
but,
This isn't one of them.
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
That's just a
interior
concern of
parcel
mine,
line,
is
I
having,
apologize.
no, you're good, I
I
understand.
see it now.
Yeah, it's just my concern is always having an improvement across the line, so they
Right.
theoretically could sell half of their canopy and not sell the other part.
Right.
Um,
So I guess maybe that's an idea to push back to the village and say, hey, we should probably put that as a, it's not been enforced on anybody else if it's not a rule, so I don't wanna push non-existing rules on people. But it might be something to consider in the future. Say, hey, you have to combine stuff if you're gonna cross the line. That's it for me, thank you.
Do you wanna, you just wanna ignore this at this point? or-
If there's not a rule against it, I don't think it's fair to push it on them, if we're not gonna change the rules.
Well, it's probably something that should be looked at in the future, you know.
Yeah, in the future, absolutely. Probably something that has to be a condition if you're gonna cross a line. I mean, it's similar to the question I asked the previous applicant, is, hey, you're gonna have an egress that's not on this parcel.
Right.
How are you doing that? But I understand, I understand perfectly why the road commission made them line the access drives up. That's a previous comment. But I don't see an issue with the canopy going up at all, no. If we don't have a rule against crossing a parcel line, I have no issues at all.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the site plan? Mr. Webb,
Make a motion that we approve the site plan.
second, anybody to second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Hale seconds. Motion before us is to approve this site plan, which is, I've lost track of it. 141 South Main, parcel 28-04-02-131-001. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, Cindy? Okay, site plan approved. Now we go back to
To the beginning.
the beginning, the flagpole language update.
So I've provided a update to the proposed flagpole ordinance. The changes based off discussion from the last meeting are in red.
Sharon, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna do this myself, but had some things come up and wasn't able to do this. Has anybody looked at the cost of what it would cost to have a professional licensed engineer draw up a plot plan for a flagpole? I mean, is this gonna be cost prohibitive for some and not others?
It could. I could, it could be, yeah.
I mean, engineers are not, and plot plans are not cheap. I just feel like that specific requirement could be cost prohibitive for some. And I'm not sure that it's, I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure I agree with that.
I mean, residentially, it's absolutely gonna be prohibitive, but
That's what I
industrially,
thought.
commercially, that's just gonna be the cost of
And, well,
business.
yeah, that's just cost of business, industrial, commercially, but for for a resident, I feel like it could be cost prohibitive.
Mr. Bomarito's pretty set that he wanted it, but so that's the,
I mean,
then I can see, and I see both sides. He wants to make sure that this thing is safe, but it's also gonna cost thousands of dollars to put up a flagpole now,
exactly, and,
Potentially.
potentially.
I mean, if your flagpole comes with good instructions, then.
Well, but you need an engineer to
You still
stamp
need an
that your
engineer to-
foundation is solid.
It's or, right?
Yeah, a plot plan showing the location of the flagpole shall be submitted along with product specifications or analysis.
Oh, it's product specifications or
Or-
analysis, so.
well, now
the
you
plot
have an
plan
issue.
is just a square
Yeah.
on a napkin.
And
Right.
Mike will be best to if for whatever reason Mike believes that it warrants further, more than just product specification, to let that applicant know, depending on what their situation is.
With the existence of the word "or," I'm good.
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That was the whole thing.
You're right.
Or.
Yeah, because the spec, from the beginning, we said the spec should be good enough
Yes.
to do this.
I don't see any language, which I could be missing, about power lines. I know the state is concerned that people don't put flagpoles where they can fall onto a power line. That's pretty much the state's main concern.
Could add that language in under item 2B, flagpoles cannot conflict with corner clearance or be an obstruction of view for safety, or corner clearance, and we can put or can conflict with overhead clearance, comma, corner clearance, or be an obstruction of view, if we put overhead clearance.
Would you like to make a motion contingent on that?
No. This is kind of a pain in the ass thing. I
Yeah.
didn't say that exactly. All right, so what do we want to do here? Do we want to?
I can make that change and bring it back.
Kick the can down the
Yeah.
street?
I don't know, I think we make a motion to add that and approve.
You want to make
You
it?
can make a motion that says that.
Right.
Sure, I mean, if you want to make the motion, go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion to add that language to B and approve this.
Language considering,
Overhead
which
obstructions.
considers out overhead.
Yeah.
Head obstructions.
Yeah. Second, anyone?
Second.
Mr. Webb seconds. Motion to approve with added language. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Wow.
It's
My
gone.
gosh.
Don't do that.
It's no
It's
more.
like a 5-year plan.
The end,
Okay.
5.
Item number 2,
That's been on the sport longer than I have.
off-street parking update.
So, at the last meeting, it was determined that me and the president village president would, discuss the, off-street parking spaces. And so I asked her for, her input on it, what she would like, and she said, well, let's start with the most restrictive and make a visual of it so you guys can, discuss which direction we go from here. So, under number 1, permitted parking area, second paragraph, No motor vehicle shall be kept or stored in any residential district unless it shall be of operating condition and properly licensed or located inside a building. And the modified language would say outdoor storage of motor vehicles or recreation vehicles is only allowed behind the principal building. So that dotted area in that graphic would be where you could store, where you could have outdoor storage of vehicles.
So can you define storage for me?
Outdoor storage is having, let me pull up the definition. It is the keeping of basically items for more than 24 hours.
So it's parking it overnight, basically, if you don't move it the next day,
Yeah,
that's
if you-
considered storage.
Yeah,
So if you drove by now, and then you drove by now tomorrow, that's a ticket, if it's parked in your front yard, in your driveway.
yeah.
So how about a house like mine where the driveway, the garage is butted up,
Right,
basically where that line is?
that's a no,
But I have a long enough driveway that I can put my boat behind the front of my house.
right, nope,
It wouldn't be allowed
no,
under this.
no,
I could fit 6 vehicles in my driveway,
not anymore,
not anymore.
right,
I don't like that.
nope.
I don't think it should go past the front of the house.
Right.
That's where I've seen most ordinances.
Right.
Same thing at all my neighbors, same setup.
Mhm.
So you're suggesting outdoor storage of motor vehicles or recreational vehicles is only allowed behind
The
the
front
front building line?
Yeah, and maybe, I see, when I lived in the shores, for stuff like this, they had a setback from the sidewalk of like 10 feet, I think it was.
Right,
To keep the front of the hitch away from the sidewalk, so nobody had any way of hitting
right.
or getting, I mean, most of our houses have 20-foot setbacks, but.
I'm still gonna use the place right next door as a great example. That house is built 150 feet from the road. That RV is 140 feet from the road, and we're not gonna allow that anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I don't like it. It's just, I think it's overly restrictive, because they have literally a pad that is built into the, it's right there, that's why it's always been there. We're gonna go, nope,
Yeah.
it's not interfering with the sidewalk, it's not interfering with anything.
Well, even my neighbor's house, they're right here at the back of their house, it drops down, so they don't have a garage.
Right.
But their driveway's just as long as mine,
Mhm.
just as wide as mine.
Yeah.
Where are they supposed to put
I mean, that's
something?
one size fits all solutions to kind of do this kind of thing, though, but.
Some folks are gonna be forced to pay for storage, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mhm.
there are some people that may have lots of yard, square footage in their backyard, but they won't be able to get an RV around their house and garage to get it back there.
Right.
I mean, I don't like this generally.
No.
I don't think you could either, right?
Pardon?
You couldn't either, right?
Me? No, I could.
You could.
I'd have to remove a fence, but.
I think we already worked on an ordinance. You're good now.
So, what do we want to do? Do we adopt this or say,
I think this is really restrictive. Is this how our current setup is? It has to be in the backyard, or what is our?
The current language is, no storage of motor vehicles or recreational vehicles may be allowed within a required front yard or the established building line, whichever is more restrictive, or required side or required rear yard.
So it can't be within the 20 feet required front yard setback or whatever.
Can't be you can't be in any of your required
Setbacks.
yard setbacks.
And that's an issue, that we
Yeah.
don't like that language?
Well, because basically if your driveway is, a lot of people's driveways are probably in their side yard. It encroaches on that. So we're already taking that away from a lot of people with the current language.
Absolutely,
So we're trying to come up with something better, but
yeah. More restrictive.
Right, well, that, when I discussed with the president, she said, well, let's go, try to start with most restrictive, work our way out.
Oh, let's work our way out.
So, or work our way to a better medium. A lot of communities have behind the front building line.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know. In certain circumstances, what if a house is built almost to the back line? Because some people do that around here.
Yeah.
They get away from the road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, people can always be, I mean, we have a ZBA, people can always come to ZBA asking for variances.
For parking a storage unit, I don't know.
I mean, this is part of the zoning ordinance.
You're gonna pay $1,000 to park your camper, how long does it last? Is it a year? Indefinite? Is it until you move?
CBA runs with land.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
not if they expire, which they probably should, if you don't ever do it. To me, ZBAs are tied to improvements, but I understand what you're saying.
You had mentioned where you lived elsewhere, there was basically language saying you had to be so many feet away from the street or sidewalk.
There was no side restrictions.
Right. Do we want to explore language like that? You have to be so many feet back from the road or sidewalk
Yes.
on a paved area?
I think most of it would be solved if you just had to be so far from the sidewalk.
I agree.
Sidewalk, right. Yes.
Right.
I mean, why would,
Or street in lieu of a sidewalk not
Right.
existing, because that happens here.
right. And if somebody has the ability to put it in the back corner of their lot, why would it be a problem in the setback, in the rear
Right,
yard setback?
Or the side yard.
Or the side yard setback, if they have the ability to do that.
There's not a view that we're trying to not
Right.
block, so.
What is the purpose of this, to hide RVs? I mean,
Yeah, I think
I would
so.
assume so.
I think they just didn't want the look of having all of them parked out in the front.
Folks, RVs,
You know,
stuff that's
which they are
unlicensed,
a lot.
side by side.
I
There's-
mean,
That's where,
in my
It's fairly
property,
tame here. You should see some communities.
Couldn't hide it. There's no place on my property where you wouldn't see it.
right.
If I had, I could give them just to be spiteful. You know.
Well, we're gonna zone it so you can't go up here in
Yeah,
a second.
we'll fix that.
So we're gonna change the language of this entirely now?
New graphic, new language.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody, wanna add?
Pardon?
That's just our idea, I guess, is the sidewalk.
No, I,
His idea, just add.
I think that's a better idea
Yeah,
myself.
I do too.
Anybody
idea,
else,
Brian.
you have any comment on that?
well,
So
Karen,
let's just-
Karen was asked to present
Right.
the most,
hey,
and
Most
we
restrictive.
go back from there.
That's
I
what
mean,
that
if we
was.
wanted to do something with this long-term storage of stuff being so close to the parking lot, we should define, or maybe we should restrict long-term storage, right?
Right.
I don't disagree with
Well, I
that.
mean-
Because you don't wanna have someone park a junker on a trailer for 6 months in their front yard, because it makes the zoning, but maybe we should make some sort of
Long-term storage change.
long-term storage.
Other
Restrictions.
communities, there's, you can have it there, you can't store it there.
Right.
You can bring it there when you're going on a vacation, you can bring it.
A lot of communities have like a 2-week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 week, up to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But you can't store it on your property. You can bring it there when you're gonna use it. You can leave it there for a certain amount of time, but you cannot store it on your property. But then I think that's gonna cause problems.
And you're forcing people to store stuff.
Right, it's
So-
gonna force
Who've never
people
had
to
to do it
store stuff,
before.
right, who've never had to do it before.
So what constitutes storage though? Is it time or is it?
It's
It's not registered for use?
They have
It's
to
basically
pay.
items stored let me pull up the definition. It's basically language that says it's something that's gonna be outside for more than 24 hours in the same spot.
I think everything has to be plated, though.
All plated.
Yeah, there's,
Right.
it has to be registered to be on your property,
Plated, in operating condition, plated and operable.
to be outside, or else it
Right,
has
to be outside, right.
Well, and what about people with dirt bikes and
They're registered.
They're registered, but they're not plated necessarily.
Well,
Side by sides aren't.
They got
No.
ORV stickers on them, right?
Right.
They'll pass, put an ORV sticker on for the
I
year.
mean, that's kind of a, you know, if it's not required to be registered, if it's not required to be plated, then no.
Right.
So the definition of outdoor storage means the keeping in an unroofed area of any goods, junk material, merchandise, or vehicles in the same place for more than 24 hours. I mean, we could add language here that specifies, or, you know, specifies further what the intentions are for at least vehicles and stuff like that. I could look and see what other communities have. Do we want to talk about having a park basically, you know, if we're saying permitted, if we're going to review the next revision of this language where it's behind, or if it's a distance from a sidewalk, include language about, you know,
Off-season storage.
off-season storage.
I would like that.
Yeah, because there's no reason a small camper, small boat can't be in a
Right.
person's yard for the winter, or for
Right.
the summer, or whatever.
Yeah.
Opposite season, you know. I mean, if you're in construction and you had to pull something out of your garage and put it in your driveway,
Hours.
what are you supposed to do, you know? Because I know I would have been in violation with
Oh,
my
yeah.
side by side.
We'll make a note of
Just
it.
drive to work once a month.
You just gotta, but that's the thing, then you're just forcing someone to move it,
Right.
you're just forcing someone to do something silly
Mhm.
for no reason. Inch by inch, come out and measure it every day.
Chalk in the tires. There you go. I don't think that's legal anymore. I guess like an idea for off-season or storage, what long-term storage looks like, but for sure the sidewalk stuff. What do you think, Chairman?
Sorry, I got off the beaten path here, I'm reading something. Yeah, you know, I mean, as it was presented at the beginning of the subject, it's just too restrictive, and I agree with,
So, motion to table for a month?
Yeah.
Or month for review?
Yeah.
For further, okay.
well, anybody want to, Mr. Webb, you want to second that?
There we go.
So Mr. Webb second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous on that. So, number two, well, I guess we're done with everything, right?
That was everything on the agenda.
Except for some comments from me
Uh-oh.
about two issues that we're gonna have to deal with. First issue, one that is, we currently have how many members of the ZBA on this commission? 3, okay. So Mr. Hale brought this up a while back, I would say. So I would say, I think maybe we need to ask the village council to do something about this. I contacted Michigan State Extension Services, and they said, no way, you're only supposed to have one person from the ZBA on here, and I think it's,
No, one person from
Or-
planning commission on the
yes,
ZBA.
excuse me, did that in reverse. And their problems are kind of self-evident, because you can't have people coming, getting shot down here and then going before the ZBA and seeing all the same people. I mean, you'd have to recuse yourself, and then what happens to your quorum? It's gone. So, I don't know, maybe we should just inform the council that they need to fix this somehow. Should we do it like that, or
I think that's your decision.
I could call them up and say, hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we formally tell the council that they need to fix this problem. So anybody want to second that? Was that adequate, that language?
Well, it's the president's appointment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's the one
I
who
wouldn't
has
question
to.
it.
Well, then maybe I'll just talk to her directly,
Okay,
and we'll forget any motions.
perfect.
It's been that way for a while, and it needs to get fixed. It hasn't been a problem. How often has the ZBA met this year even?
Well, not very often.
Yeah, see, we've whittled it right away to where a lot of the people who are coming in for the standard things no longer have to,
Okay, all right, well,
like side yard fences.
We have two coming up in
Garage sizes.
January.
Do we?
I think so.
And it's a topic that my commission's
I'll talk to her before Christmas, maybe right before Christmas.
Yep.
The second issue is parking in the central business district. Now, this week, I had a meeting, was invited to attend a meeting called by the village clerk, Ms. Trapp, about the problem with the current requirements for central business district. And for new businesses only, apparently, if you are planning to move in and you are short the required parking spaces, you are asked to pay, in lieu of your parking spaces, a fee of $10,500. So that recently amounted to over $100,000 for one of the new places in town, which of course caused them to pull back on their plans. They wanted to expand out to the street that was the old Coney Island, which is now a new business. And they wanted to expand to the street, but that ordinance or rule is so restrictive, they were unable to do it. So I think, and a lot of people think, that the current parking rules down there, ordinance, they're not very friendly, and they are counterproductive to any sort of development in downtown Romeo. And they need to be suspended or changed somehow. So I don't know, I mean, we don't really have to make a decision, or I don't know what needs to happen tonight, but I think we should inform the village council that that really needs to be revisited. And you're all aware of these?
I mean, I have questions about how it works personally.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know who's gonna answer my questions, but I understand the business you're talking about, I understand what they wanted to do. But I guess my question is, it's only new construction that's affected by this?
It's only new business.
New business or new
business.
construction?
New business.
New business.
So I don't wanna like
Business.
toss people willy-nilly into the bus, but like, when a business expands, so say, let's use a terrible example, let's say the office expands into the third bay that they've never used. Are they gonna be hit with this?
They should be, because
think
there's
so,
nothing,
yes.
there's
I
nothing
believe
in
that's-
there now, Andrew,
Let's-
that would,
Accurate,
So let's
yeah.
use somebody who's already opened. The Italian place expanded through 2 additional bays. Did they have to pay this?
no.
So why?
Because they were, I believe was that already owned by them, I believe?
No, they're tenants, correct? The whole building is owned by a different, that's a leased space, I do believe. I'm not positive,
Yeah,
but
I'd have to look at it.
like the cafe closed. If a new place comes in there, do they have to pay this?
If they're going to expand.
So only new construction then?
No, they have to meet, so they have to, whatever the use requires them to have in the way of parking, they have to be able to provide that parking.
So basically if the scope of the business changes in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, correct.
So if it were a year later, when the Italian place expanded, they would have just not done it, because it would have cost $100,000
Easy, yeah.
just to park cars. I don't disagree with you then.
There's another aspect to this, which is this idea that there's not enough parking in Romeo. There have been 3 studies in the last 15 years, I guess, about parking, concerning parking in Romeo, data-driven studies. And at least 2 of them agree that there's adequate parking in Romeo. So why are we doing this to people? And they suggest that the real parking problem in Romeo is management. It's not space. So I think this needs to be investigated, because this ruling, this fee that's being charged is not helping development in Romeo. I mean, you gotta be out of your mind to pay $100,000 to add a few booths to Coney Island, you know? That's not right. So, so I'm part of this group, so you know, 4 people so far, who are looking into this problem. I don't think we need to do anything here just yet, but you should know that that's going on. And I just don't think this is not, say, not good government, you know. It's counterproductive to anything we're trying to do here. You know, it's not friendly. So, so that's all I wanted to say about that. And I'll see that everybody gets copies of.
I believe I put some on,
Oh.
I highlighted payment in lieu of. Does everyone have that in front of them?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
Andrew,
so
I
take a
think,
look at that.
Andrew, it explains on the general commercial uses that that's what they're requiring, one space, so that's what happened with the new business going in.
I just didn't know the cost of it all. I had no idea how much anything was gonna cost to do with this. Is this
Each
something that other
space.
communities do, Ms. Karen? I mean, you have exposure to other communities. Is this common?
I mean, there are, this thing in spaces, communities do it, the rates are different, and it, you know, everyone's metric of showing how much space each, you know, it's hard when you have these big lots
Mhm.
that a bunch of businesses are using, but until, you know, people take a look at these parking studies, actually see how much parking's there, how does peak capacity actually work at Romeo, is this really, you know, it's complicated for sure,
Okay.
but, you know, it just depends. You know, I wouldn't, you know, places that have downtowns like Ferndale and Royal Oak, maybe they have pricing like this, I don't know, I could check. But I do think it's very high.
Okay.
But those places also have meters.
You have meters, and it's just, you know, downtown parking is always complicated in every community.
Yeah.
No one's following the same exact thing, everyone's doing something slightly different, they're looking at different stuff, because, you know, if you got a community that your peak hours actually might be around dinner time, the afternoon is the lull, whereas maybe
Right.
afternoon's peak, dinner time's the lull, it just depends, you know.
I mean, we just put all these crosswalks in to make downtown more walkable, so that expands the scope of what parking looks like. And then I feel like this, I mean, I only heard about this a year or two ago. Then this comes right on the heels of it. And it's like, you just made your footprint larger for people to park and feel like they can walk safely. How about we just, you know, slow traffic down through the downtown?
I mean, you look at successful communities. You know, nobody likes Rochester, but look at Rochester. Rochester is always busy, always busy.
Yeah.
People don't mind paying for parking, and people don't mind walking. If there's something there that people want to go to, they're willing to walk.
Right.
They're willing to do what needs to be done. You can't have businesses in a town that an owner or an employee parks in front of the business or behind the business and parks there all day and then complains because they don't have places for people to park.
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, there's a lot at the corner of North Bailey and 32 and East St. Clair that I can tell you, when I was the DDA director, I would walk past there multiple times, different hours of day and night, and nobody was there.
Empty.
Right.
It was empty.
Right.
You know, so,
Well, we put a building, I mean, we didn't put a building there, but somebody's building a building right next
right,
to it.
they
That
are
problem
putting a
should be
building there.
resolved.
Right, well, they are putting a building there. They had, you know, they have parking in front of the building.
Yeah.
And there was an agreement with that gentleman regarding the parking, you know, maintaining that parking lot
Yeah, it
and
looks
so
like
on and
it's
so
been
forth.
done.
That's the most.
But is it, I don't know that, I mean, just because it looks nice now doesn't mean people are gonna park there.
Right, well, and I feel like, but, you know, but there was only one safe place to cross.
Mhm.
at the four corners, and a lot of people don't like crossing there.
Right.
So now we've expanded the scope of that
Mhm.
by threefold to
Mhm.
try to spread it out, where you
Mhm.
can cross, where you can't cross.
Right.
So it's, I still think a lot of it has to do with the speed of traffic on the two roads. But it's up to the state at this point to allow it to come
Right,
down.
exactly.
So maybe that's where the avenue of fighting it goes, is fight it to lower it to every village in this county, every village, other than this one, it's 25 on both major roads, both of them.
Mhm.
New Haven and Armada, it's 25 on both major roads, and we have 35 and 30.
I'd be willing to bet it was slower in the past. I don't know, and
It's always been 35 as long as I can ever remember,
well, I mean, way back, you know.
but I feel like a lot of that was influenced by gravel to the west. And it's a truck route, but with 30 Mile being paved now, maybe we'll see what happens.
It seems to me if the attraction is strong enough, people will find a place to park.
They will.
You cannot take a semi, speaking of Rochester, a semi cannot go through Rochester
Mhm.
unless it's delivering to Rochester, period,
Hey, I live on 32.
as do I.
Yeah, well, so those trucks,
I'm
you know.
that fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm
But-
not saying that that's the avenue to go to, but it's the speed limit, because we approved the downtown district, should be 25 miles an hour by state law, and it's just
Right.
not. It's just not.
Well, what can we do about that?
I don't know.
Who do we petition, you know?
The state
Is it
police.
Macomb?
It's the
or
state police.
Is that who it is?
Yep. Gotta wait till the guy retires, and then we can try to get solved.
Well, parking meters might be a partial solution to this, but
I know that's been talked about.
I don't know. I
I
think
don't-
that's gonna, I think that's gonna kill businesses.
I don't, but, I mean, if you talk to some of these communities who've had parking problems, a lot of times parking meters actually have been beneficial.
I mean,
It just depends on the situation and
I
what
don't
you
know.
have in town and what you don't have in town. I mean, I remember when we had parking meters in town.
it's a huge hurdle. It's a lot of infrastructure.
Mhm.
You gonna tear up the lots and run power to every one of these for us?
No.
No, okay.
But
Because they're all electric now, and they're all Wi-Fi, and it's all,
Mhm.
you're talking an enormous investment
yeah,
just to
exactly.
start.
Exactly, I agree.
So it's, yeah, I don't know.
well,
I don't like when something is restricting growth, and like, you know, the people came in with the site plan, they added a vestibule instead of an addition. Is that what the village really wants?
yeah, so, no.
It's a
I
good
don't-
question.
No, I mean, I don't wanna see vacant buildings because they don't have parking. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
That's what they did, they added a vestibule instead of an addition,
Absolutely.
because of the price, it's
Yep.
demonstrative. I
Yeah.
mean, what do you want them to do?
That wasn't in their budget.
Yeah, it just
It's not
doesn't,
in
it
most
makes no
people's budget.
sense.
I don't really go anywhere because parking's convenient. You know, I don't go, yeah, it's a crappy place to go, but you can park right out in front, you know. Who does that? Nobody. So I think they're too worried about parking, and especially when you have these studies that say there's plenty of
No,
parking.
I mean, there's parking on the side streets, there's a new parking lot by the post office, there's a parking lot we just talked about. I mean, there's a huge parking lot by Four Corners that isn't occupied. I mean, it's occupied in the morning and when Four Corners is open, but it's not always full.
Right.
It just, there's parking around the park, there's parking on Rawl Street, I mean,
There's parking on every street.
there's parking on every street. I mean,
There's.
yeah, if we had Peach Festival all the time, we definitely have a parking problem.
Yeah.
But
They all still get in.
they all still get in, they all manage to come here.
I can tell you how many there are, there's a lot.
There's a lot, we don't, I mean, what happens when Tilson Street comes?
There's
I
even
mean-
more for that.
Exactly. So I don't, it doesn't make sense to push businesses away.
We're crushing growth.
Exactly, we are crushing growth.
I use the Macomb Orchard Trail when I'm walking, and from my house, I gotta walk past Four Corners and that lot in question there. It's almost always empty, no matter when I'm walking. I walk at different times. And I think one of the reasons it's empty is, and there's nothing that can be done about this really, but it's kind of, I just wanna make the comment because lots of things influence this stuff. that building there where, what is it? Is it the Four Corners Restaurant with the Bulldog? Is that
To
the?
Mitt and all that stuff, yeah.
The side of that building that faces that lot is so ugly.
How, so expanding on that, how do we talk the village into putting a dumpster corral in that parking lot you're talking about? And getting the grease trap
DDA.
off the back of
Is
that
DDA,
building?
please? Or, yeah.
That's a totally
Well,
off topic.
I can say that the DDA at one point in time talked about dumpster corrals, and there's limitations on how DDA funds can be used, you know, on public property
They have to be within their
and
district.
private property. It would be within their district.
is.
I don't know, that's a discussion to have with them, but
Yeah.
I agree that, you know,
And then we could put a mural down the whole side of the building and then it's beautiful. That's two birds, one stone.
No, I think that's a contributing factor to why people don't
Yeah.
use that lot, because that building is so unfriendly. I mean, there's a egress there, you know, they chop the corner off, and they don't use it, you know, people don't
It's,
come
It's a-
in,
Well, it's a clear vision corner.
you know.
it's hard to pull in there if you have a bigger vehicle.
Yeah, it's tight.
When I worked at Four Corners, I did that, I parked there.
Uh-huh.
It was easier, you just walk in the back door, but it was hard for my truck to get in and out.
Yeah. Currently, there's a dumpster at the other corner of that building, closer to the Buscemi's.
Uh-huh.
It's just up on the curb.
Nice.
There's two dumpsters and a grease trap on the back of a building that faces the street, that faces that parking lot, and they're not enclosed. When people come in for site plan approval, we make them build a dumpster corral that you can't see from the road.
Right.
Well, that's a sticky
Whole nother
problem,
box.
can't do much about, but. All right, well, I just wanted to mention those things and,
Well, I wish you luck in your quest.
pardon?
I wish you luck in your quest.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll keep the commission informed as to what is decided, as well as, and I'll also let you know what happens when they call the village president. Or I'll bust into the offices. Well, you don't have those doors anymore. It's
We have a locked door.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I think Mr. Webb, so.
All right.